Once, there was a city whose name still echoes through time, Babylon. Described as the center of the ancient world, its walls were said to be unbreakable, its gardens a wonder of the world, and its culture a foundation for civilization itself. But what exactly was Babylon, and does it still exist today? To answer this, we must journey back to Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers, where human civilization first took root. Here, on the banks of the Euphrates, Babylon emerged as a small settlement. Over time, it grew into the political, cultural, and spiritual heart of the ancient world. Yet today, if you were to search for Babylon on a map, you would not find a thriving city. What remains is different: ruins, myths, and echoes of a name that still stirs imagination. The story of Babylon is one of rise, glory, decline, and survival, not only in stone, but also in memory. The story begins more than 4,000 years ago. By around 2300 BCE, a modest town stood on the Euphrates River. At first, Babylon was just one of many city-states competing for power in Mesopotamia, but geography gave it an advantage. Located near major trade routes, Babylon became a natural crossroads. Merchants, travelers, and armies alike passed through. In time, this crossroads turned into a capital. The first great ruler who put Babylon on the map was Hammurabi, who reigned from 1792 to 1750 BCE. Under Hammurabi, Babylon became the center of an empire stretching across Mesopotamia. But Hammurabi's greatest legacy was not just conquest, it was law. The Code of Hammurabi remains one of the earliest and most complete sets of laws in history. Carved into stone, these laws covered everything from trade to justice, from family life to punishment. The famous phrase, "an eye for an eye," comes from this very code. Babylon, therefore, was not just a seat of power, it was a center of order, where the very idea of written law helped shape the future of civilizations. By Hammurabi's death, Babylon had transformed from a small city into a world power, and its name would never be forgotten. The true golden age of Babylon came centuries later under the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar II from 605 to 562 BCE. This is the Babylon most people imagine when they hear the name. Nebuchadnezzar was both a conqueror and a builder. He expanded the empire and fortified the capital. Ancient writers described Babylon's massive double walls, so thick that chariots could ride across them. Within the city stood towering temples, palaces, and ziggurats that seemed to reach the heavens. One of the city's most famous monuments was the Ishtar Gate, adorned with brilliant blue glazed bricks and decorated with images of lions, bulls, and dragons. This grand entranceway was more than a wall, it was a statement of power and glory. And then, there is the legend of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Considered one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, the gardens were said to be a man-made paradise, with lush trees and flowing water rising high above the city. Some historians believe Nebuchadnezzar built them for his queen, who longed for the green hills of her homeland. Others doubt they ever existed at all. Whether fact or myth, the Hanging Gardens became forever tied to Babylon's image as a place of marvels. But Babylon was not just about monuments. It was a center of learning and science. Babylonian astronomers charted the stars and developed early forms of mathematics that influenced Greek and later Islamic scholars. The Babylonian calendar, based on careful observation of celestial movements, shaped how time was measured across the region. At its peak, Babylon was a city of wealth, beauty, and knowledge. It was, quite literally, the center of the ancient world. What makes Babylon unique is not only its power, but its place in human memory. In the Bible, Babylon appears as a symbol of human pride and divine punishment. The story of the Tower of Babel tells of humanity's attempt to build a tower to the heavens, only to be scattered when their languages were confused. Babylon also appears as the place of exile for the Jewish people, when Nebuchadnezzar conquered Jerusalem in 586 BCE and destroyed the first temple. For Jews, the Babylonian exile was a defining moment in history, one that influenced faith and scripture for generations. Greek writers also left vivid accounts of Babylon. Herodotus described its walls and temples in awe, though some of his details may have been exaggerated. To outsiders, Babylon was a place of wonder, decadence, and mystery. Because of these stories, Babylon became more than a city. It became a symbol. For some, it represented human achievement at its greatest. For others, it was a warning against arrogance and moral decay. This dual image would shape how Babylon was remembered for thousands of years. Like all empires, Babylon's greatness did not last forever. In 539 BCE, Cyrus the Great of Persia captured the city. Ancient sources claim that Babylon fell without a fight, its gates opened by those who welcomed Persian rule. Under the Persians, Babylon remained important, but was no longer the heart of an empire. Centuries later, Alexander the Great marched into Babylon. He planned to make it the capital of his vast empire. But fate intervened. In 323 BCE, Alexander died in Babylon at the age of just 32. His death marked not only the end of his dreams, but the beginning of Babylon's decline. Over time, as power shifted to other cities, Babylon was gradually abandoned. By the early centuries CE, the once great city had crumbled into ruins, buried under sand and memory. So, does Babylon still exist? The answer is both yes and no. The ancient city lies near the modern town of Hilla in present-day Iraq. For centuries, its ruins were hidden and forgotten. In the 19th century, Western explorers began to rediscover Babylon. And by the early 20th century, German archaeologists had uncovered major parts of the city, including the Ishtar Gate, which today is reconstructed in Berlin's Pergamon Museum. In the 20th century, Babylon took on a strange new life. Saddam Hussein, ruler of Iraq, ordered parts of the city rebuilt in the 1980s. He even inscribed his name on some of the reconstructed bricks, much like Nebuchadnezzar had done 2,500 years earlier. These efforts were controversial, blending ancient ruins with modern politics. Today, Babylon is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Tourists can walk among its ruins, the remnants of walls, palaces, and temples that once made it the pride of Mesopotamia. Though it is no longer a living city, Babylon survives as an archaeological site, a cultural symbol, and a word that still carries enormous weight. So yes, Babylon exists, not as a bustling metropolis, but as ruins in Iraq and as an idea in human imagination that refuses to die. Babylon was once the heart of the ancient world. It gave humanity some of its earliest laws, some of its most enduring myths, and some of its greatest marvels. It was a city of stone and gardens, of kings and conquerors. But more than that, Babylon became a mirror. To some, it reflected human genius, the ability to build, learn, and govern. To others, it reflected human arrogance, a warning of what happens when pride grows too great. So, what was Babylon? It was a city, an empire, a legend, and a symbol. And does it still exist? Yes, in ruins, on the banks of the Euphrates, and in the stories we continue to tell. In the end, Babylon is not gone. It lives on in our history, in our languages, and in the enduring human imagination. Which part of Babylon's story do you find most fascinating? Its laws, its gardens, or its legends? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more travel history adventures.